Great. I'm going to ask for some interaction throughout this. So open up that chat window if you wish, and I'll be asking some questions and sharing some information as we go, and would love to hear from all of you. So before we kind of dive into the topic, just a quick background. And thank you, Lauren, for your presentation and giving a sense for employee engagement. Today, I'm going to share a little bit first about Emmersion and who we are. We come in at the beginning of the HR process when you're recruiting candidates for positions in your call centers and at the corporate level as well. And just a little bit of background about Emmersion. Emmersion was started with a mission to help close the global communication gap. Our founders we have a few different co-founders, and a couple of them were brothers who ran a BPO in the Philippines, actually. So we are based and headquartered in the United States, but because of their experience for over a decade running a BPO in the Philippines, they saw firsthand the need for strong ability to communicate, and particularly to be able to, in a hiring position, assess for language ability. They partnered with our other co-founder named Jacob Burtis, who is doing his doctorate and is a doctor in linguistics and instructional psychology. And he had developed this methodology and found a way to assess language ability very quickly. And the reason they partnered with him and to start Emmersion was that they felt very strongly about providing opportunities to prove your language ability, to improve your situation, improve your employment opportunities, and on the employer side, to be able to quickly vet how well somebody can communicate in a language. So it is a fully automated adaptive language assessment that takes about 10 or 15 minutes, and it requires no human interaction, and it allows you to understand how well somebody speaks the language. We already went over me, but just from my position here at Emmersion as head of client success, the thing that I love most is that I get to interact directly with our clients. I work with all of our large BPO clients across the globe, and many there in the Philippines. And it's the thing that I enjoy most, interacting with our clients. The role of client success means that I first get to understand what makes our clients successful. And then hopefully today I can share some of those success stories that we've had, and in a way that will help highlight the ways that you can use technology to advance your hiring needs. So just a quick sneak peek at what we'll be going through here. We're going to talk first about language screening with AI. AI is kind of a hot topic, but what does that really mean, right? And how can you use AI, artificial intelligence, to be able to screen for language ability? We're going to talk then about the benefits of using AI to help boost employee efficiency. So Lauren and Qualtrics just gave a great presentation about the importance of employee engagement. And I'll share some quick tidbits about how using language screening can actually help improve the employee experience. And then beyond that, to be able to improve the customer efficiency. So quick interaction here. I'm going to be asking a few questions throughout. Be curious to see in the chat, what are some of the top skills that you are looking for in a candidate when you are hiring for somebody to work in your contact center? Give a couple of seconds if you want to chime in with a few of those. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up this slide, which will show some of the top requested skills, but please chime in on the chat and add any others that you see that you feel are most important. So not surprisingly, you've got a mix of soft skills and hard skills. And I'm seeing some of these coming in on the chat that are similar to this list. So some of the top requested skills that we have found in our research, the number one on soft skills is always communication. And I'm seeing that in the chat as well. Language skills, analytics, communication skills, critical thinking. Communication skills, creativity. I love that one from Jerome. And you see that here on this list as well. On the hard skills, you also have, obviously their ability to interact with technology, with the computer, potentially analytics. And I think the hard skills are always going to be more focused on the specific job position, right? The soft skills around communication is going to be applicable for any position, but the hard skills, especially as we look at the contact center space, those written and oral language skills are really key and crucial, both to drive a strong employee experience as well as customer experience. So another question, how is it that you are testing for communication skills and your language skills today? Again, would love to see in the chat, maybe if you have some unique ways that you're doing that, but also a good time to reflect and think about, when in your hiring today, what is it that you're using? It could be, another automated test. It could be a human rater. Could be your recruiters. It could be that you are the recruiter. You're in charge of talent acquisition, and you're thinking, yeah, that's on me. I have to evaluate for that. Quick story about my experience. So I spent 2 years living in a French-speaking country, and lived among the locals and immersed myself there for a couple of years and learned French while I was there. I came home from that experience and moved back to the States and had an opportunity to teach French at a immersive language learning program for about 2 years after that experience. I did that part-time while I was in college. And as part of that experience, I had to evaluate a number of individuals who would be coming to the program. Those who had said, I've had an experience learning French. I learned it in school, or my family speaks French. And I would be the one who would get on the phone and screen them to see if they should be in the more advanced program or not. Back then, this was, over a decade ago, I guess almost 15 years ago now, there really wasn't any direction given to me as to how to evaluate their ability. And here I was, a second language learner. I didn't speak French fluently growing up. I learned it and I spoke it very well enough to teach it, but I still was not well equipped to be able to say with certainty how well these individuals spoke French. And oftentimes we see recruiters, talent acquisition specialists who find themselves in the same position where they're being asked to rate somebody in a language that maybe is a second or third language for them, and not given the tools to be able to give clear data as to how well that individual speaks the language. Add on top of that the volume needs that you have to go through to hire a high volume of candidates. So what we see, and this is the experience that I had, was that with human rated solutions, some of the challenges are that results are not immediate. If you're doing it there as part of your talent acquisition team, you need to schedule time with them, go through an interview, then put together your notes, put together a score, potentially have a scoring rubric or not. You may be sending them out to a third party human rated process to be able to, it takes time to schedule with them. It takes time for them to compile the results and send it back to you. Results with human raters, even the best human raters, will include inherent bias and inconsistencies. And there's a lot of research about cognitive bias and kind of this just innate bias that we will have based on accent, based on form of speech, based on speed, how well they speak, that we as humans, we are just incapable of ridding ourselves of some of that inherent bias. Also, the process can be really difficult to scale. So as you're looking to grow, oftentimes in a contact center role, I'm sure you're looking to hire a large volume of people very quickly. A new client can come on board and they need, dozens or hundreds of agents to be hired in a very short period of time. And so you need to be able to scale up your solution, and human raters can be a bottleneck for that process. And then the fourth thing that we hear often around human rating is that the cost per hire is just too high, especially to have an expert level, consistently trained human rater provide that rating of language ability or communication skills. So with AI, the reason why AI is a really good solution to this problem, as I mentioned before, AI is kind of a one of those maybe overused terms right now. And every company wants to say they have AI and they're using AI, but AI is not necessarily going to be applicable for every situation. The reason why AI does work for language screening is because of the problems that we kind of mentioned and brought up. Because it's automated, you get immediate results. So you can decrease the time to hire by having immediate results. And beyond that, the results are immediate, but it's also fast in that the candidate can take the assessment from anywhere on any device. AI produces an accurate and consistent result that leads to better qualified candidates. It's more affordable because it's a machine, and so it's able to scale up and down, infinitely with very low cost to the organization. So I want to talk about a quick example here. I mentioned I get to work with some of our customers very closely. Crossover is a company that it has about 30,000 applicants per month, and they are managing this high volume of applications from around the globe. They're a global company that allow for remote work. And they came to us, I guess, about a year and a half ago now with this problem that they have an applicant tracking system that they've custom built that they have tried to automate as much of that process as they could to make it scalable and be able to process those 30,000 applications. What they found was that they had automated every piece of their beginning application process with different types of assessments for the different types of skills and positions they were hiring for. But the piece that they were unable to automate was the human or the language screening process. What they were doing was, they would take somebody from the application and through these steps, and then there would be a bottleneck. And to screen for language ability, they would have a link to schedule with a third-party human rated company. And then once they would schedule that, then they would conduct that interview over the next few days. That company would then get the results back. The results would be placed in their applicant tracking system, and then the applicant can move on further in the application process. When they came to us with this problem, because of our automated solution, they were able to implement that right into the beginning of the application process. So what changed was that each candidate saved about 3 hours per candidate. So there were about 3 hours saved per candidate each time they applied for a position. And that was a faster application process, which led to a higher conversion rate in their applicants, and overall saved about 45,000 hours per month in cost and time for the recruiting team as they were analyzing these 30,000 applications. So you can see that this really gets at the heart of what talent acquisition leaders struggle with all the time, right? Managing a quota, managing the high volume of applications, and doing so effectively by using automated language screening upfront. You can save a lot of that time, as we see with Crossover. So another question here, how does accurate and reliable screening for language skills affect employee efficiency? Love to hear some of your thoughts around this. So, kind of reflecting on what Lauren from Qualtrics had shared around the employee experience and how important that is. What have you seen in your roles and in your positions as HR leaders about communication skills and language skills leading to a strong or a poor employee experience? Anything that you've seen, feel free to chime in. What we have seen from our interactions with clients is that being able to be more confident in your ability leads to an environment where the agents are better suited to handle customer conversations. Some of the worst employee experiences are when they are unprepared for the position. I'm sure that resonates with many of you. When they're unprepared and they're not able to handle the job and perform well, they are dissatisfied and they're not as confident. which then leads to employee turnover. I'm sure, as we're all familiar in the contact center space, the high turnover is something we're always constantly fighting against. By improving the employee experience, by screening well upfront for language ability, we can lead to a decreased employee turnover as they are more engaged and they are more qualified for that position. It also leads to improved opportunities for development and advancement. We've had a number of contact center and BPO companies that have come on board that have implemented it not only for recruiting, but one in particular that we just onboarded last week that is not in the Philippines. They're actually in Central America, but they are using it particularly for an employee promotion experience. So they want to have a culture of showing opportunity for career advancement, career improvement, and particularly with their language skills, where an individual may get hired at a lower language ability. Just by the nature of interacting with their job, they're able to improve their language ability by being immersed and using English or French or Spanish every day, day in and day out in the job. And they want to recognize their employees for that. So they're testing once or twice a year every employee and giving them an opportunity for a raise or an advancement based on their improved language skills. One of our customers who has a location there in the Philippines, as well as throughout South and Central America, has said this. So Benjo, he said, in the marketplace, we have had our employees tell us that they think we're more professional. They've said, we want to go work for Focus because they are professional. They use professional testing and prove that it is real. This is a real professional assessment, and I really like that experience, they've said. So Benjo was particularly referring to the candidate experience. So a good employee experience starts all the way back at the beginning with their candidate experience. How are they being received when they apply for a job with your company? Because of Focus Services implementation of a more professional language experience, they saw that those employees that were applying for positions at multiple contact centers, they really stood out by having a third-party professional language screening experience that was very fast and very efficient. So, they saw it not only on the employee experience side, but starting all the way back at that beginning with the candidate experience. Another question here: how does better qualified talent improve customer satisfaction? And some of this may seem a little bit, kind of like, well, yeah, that's a little bit obvious, right? But if you really think about it, if you're the operations team, as HR leaders, we're bringing in the talent and then providing to operations to help improve the customer satisfaction scores and have an overall better customer experience. There are very few things that we can do as much as nailing the recruiting process and the talent acquisition process to improve customer satisfaction. In fact, the number one cause of lower customer satisfaction scores is often communication skills and language ability. So a few ways that we've seen that customer efficiency and the customer experience is improved by using AI for language screening. Obviously, improved agent communication, right? The ability to understand and speak the language at a high level leads to an ability to have greater empathy with customers. Having a third-party objective score has led to customer satisfaction in ways you may not anticipate right away. And I'll show you that here in a moment with a case study example where the end client that had contracted with a contact center saw a unique benefit from using third-party objectivity. You get language certification proof. So from a third party, especially for an agent to be able to hold in their hand a certificate that says I speak at this ability level, and it wasn't based on the recruiter or another individual that was kind of hoping and guessing at that number, but it is a certified score, leads to improved customer satisfaction scores and overall peace of mind for the operation. So another quick case study here. Sykes is one of our clients that uses our solution. And recently they had one of their clients, which is a large telecommunication client, that was kind of questioning the language ability. And it wasn't so much that they were questioning the ability of the agents, but they were questioning the process. They were wondering, how is it that you are able to can provide us confidence that you have a consistent way of measuring English ability for your agents? And because Sykes was using Emmersion, they had loads of data at their fingertips. So not only did they have a process, but they had data that they could readily provide about all of the agents that they had hired and those that they hadn't hired, giving them specific scores on their speaking ability. But then they went a little bit beyond that. They started to implement as well our non-speaking tests for their chat and email communication needs. So they had both a speaking score and a written communication score. And as they shared this information with this telecommunications client, the telecommunications client wanted to know more. So they shared a little bit more about the immersion process, some of our documentation, some of the third-party studies that had been done to validate this process. And what this led to was that this client who came in questioning and really wondering and kind of putting it to the operations team and the talent acquisition team at Sykes, it completely flipped around their perspective. They saw that they gained increased confidence in the business with Sykes. And in fact, that client asked to expand the usage, and they specifically started getting involved and having more confidence in the language ability. And they could have conversations about the agents that were hired with real data about their language ability level, using CFR scores, using our custom True North score as a benchmark. They could set specific benchmarks for position, and overall it led to a much stronger relationship with the client. Another example I want to share is Teleperformance. So we are used at many Teleperformance locations around the globe. And in fact, we've been working with Teleperformance for a little over 3 years now at some of their locations. What they found, and the reason they came to us, was that the customer satisfaction scores were low. And chat specifically, there were a lot of grammatical errors that were identified as the root cause of these low customer satisfaction scores. So they worked with us over a period of time to implement a series of assessments and integrate that into their application process and into their recruiting funnel. What they started to do is test and improve their agents' ability to communicate and get to that data to be able to prove definitively whether the person they were interviewing or not could speak English well. The results led to a 20% increase over about a 6-month window in customer satisfaction scores. 6 months, they saw that initial bump after just 60 days. And what it led to was a end client score at a 90%. So, great success story that represents and kind of highlights the customer satisfaction experience and how that can be improved by using language screening. So I think I'm at about the end of my time. I'm looking forward to the panel as well to kind of dig into some of the issues that you're facing in talent acquisition and how you can better use language screening to improve AI. And I appreciate the time.